Hi, this is Gejo, and the series of tough DLR questions. In this session, we're going to look at a CAT 2005 DLR question on 4 firms. And if you look at the process of reading, understanding, deducing, and executing, in this particular set, reading is not going to take much time because the information given is not very difficult to understand. So this is fine. The step of understanding where we eventually try and figure out which diagram to go with, this would be a very crucial step because the right kind of diagram that you use, then the second steps of deduction makes it pretty easy, right? So if you have the right kind of diagram, the deduction is fine. One of the challenge in this particular set was on executing. So those 4 questions, 1, 2, 3, 4 questions, 3 of them, to even understand what the question is asking us to do, requires a bit of work. So for this particular set, the challenge actually is executing, and of course if you have the right kind of diagram, this can be easily managed. So the critical element here is to look at what is the kind of diagram that you want to go with and then how to make the deduction. Right, so let's look at the question set. This gives a table below. It presents revenue in millions of 4 firms in 3 states. These firms, okay, so there are 4 firms in 3 states, so and the revenue in millions. So this, we have 3 states, we have 4 firms A, B, C, D. Okay, so this is pretty, and the numbers are all the numbers are given. Okay, so not much of a problem there. And then it says that these firms, Honest Limited, Aggressive Limited, Truthful Limited, and Profitable Limited, are disguised in the table as A, B, C, and D. So eventually we'll have to understand which is which. So there is this honest, aggressive, truthful, and profitable. We don't know which is which. So one of these firms, A, B, C, D. One of them can be honest, one of them is aggressive, one of them is truthful, and one of them is profitable. And it could even be a case where you could have multiple cases. So there could be a case where H could be either A or B, or a multiple case here. So very likely that we're going to have multiple cases given the fact that the number of rules that is given is just 2. There are just 2 additional information that is given. For example, if you look at this information, in the state of MP, Truthful Limited has the highest market share. In the state of the person has got highest market share is 72 here, and that is A or C. So already we have multiple cases here. And then you look at the questions. The executing these questions could be challenging because the question says what can be said regarding following 2 statements. So now 2 statement is given, one regarding Profitable Limited and one regarding Honest Limited, and then it says if statement 1 is true, then statement 2 is necessarily true. If statement 1 is true, then statement 2 is necessarily false. Both statement 1 and 2 are true, and neither statement 1 nor 2 is true. So now you are looking at relationship between these 2 statements. What happens if one of the statement is true, or what happens if one of the statement is false? So executing here may be a bit tricky. So again, the second question talks about the same similar thing. So you have which of the following can be said, and you have 2 statements, and then you have if then condition in the answer choices. What happens if one is true? What happens if one is false? One of the statement is false, and so on and so forth. And then look at the question number 3. Again, the same story. So you have 2 statements, and asking the relation between those statements. Both statements could be true. At least one statement must be true. At most one statement is true, and none of the above. And then you have the 4th question has got one extra condition. If Profitable Limited has lowest revenue in UP, then which of the following is true? Probably this is the easiest among the 4 questions to handle. So at this point in time, it is kind of important that when you look at this question to say that I'm going to have challenge in the question. So it probably will make a lot of sense to gather as much as information here, make all the deduction that is possible, and then go look at the question. So eventually it's a simple story as to we have to decipher which is honest, which is aggressive, which is truthful, and which is profitable. One way to work is to create a table like this and think about think about cases. I'm guessing there'll be multiple cases, case 1, case 2. That is one way to look at a table. Second way to look at the table is write down these 4 disguised names A, B, C, D, and then think of putting the cases there. Okay, so here you'll input whether honest, truthful, profitable, or whatever, and here you're writing the firm names A, B, C, D, or whatever. So now the first step is to look at which is a better diagram to go with. This small decision is very crucial to help you execute the questions better. Now here, if you look at each of these questions that we saw here, so if you look at the question here, talks about something to do with profitable firm, profitable limited, and truthful limited is there in the answer choice. And here it talks about honest limited, aggressive limited, and here we are talking about aggressive and honest limited, and here profitable and honest limited. So all the information that eventually we need to answer the question has to do with the firm. And this is therefore the second diagram is a bad diagram to go with. The first diagram is a good diagram to go with. So that's what we're going to do to create. Let's create a diagram which is let's pick, okay. So we have honest, we have aggressive, we have truthful, and then we have profitable. And we have to figure out which is which. So we'll probably need to understand which is which. And since there are going to be multiple cases, let's create at least a few cases will be there. So let's start at least by doing this and writing this and filling up the data that is given. Okay, let's start with the first statement. In the state of MP, which is here, truthful limited. So now we are interested in what is happening with truthful limited. So this particular box is what I can fill. Has the highest market share. Who has the highest market share? 72 is the highest. So there's either it can be A or C, which means truthful can either be A or C. Okay, don't worry. All we have to do is, okay, let's think of a couple of cases here. So we have case number 1, we have case 2. In case number 1, truthful is A, or truthful can be C. Great. And the second talks about aggressive limiters aggregate revenue differs from honest limited by 5 million. So we have information aggressive and honest. Since we there get 3 information, profitable will also come out because if you fill these 2 things, whoever is left is going to take this particular space. So this is good. Okay, so we have aggressive limited aggregate revenue. Aggregate is the sum. Differs from the honest by 5 million. So now is a question of going ahead and adding and creating the sum. So 72 plus 9 is 81, plus 60 is what, 141, plus 9 is 150, plus 40 is 190. So in this case we have 63 plus 2 is 65, plus 70 is 135, plus 2 is 137, plus 80 is 217. 72 plus 70 is 142, plus 80 is 222. And 65 plus 5 is 70, plus 60 is 135, plus 50 is 185. Right. So we added those the 3 things together, and it says differs by 5 million. So we are interested in what is the difference of 5 million. Immediately you see these 2 things, 190 and 185, that is differs of 5 million, and 217 and 222 also differs by 5 million. So there are 2 cases here. So one case is where it can be either firm A, firm D, could be aggressive and honest, or the second case would be firm B and firm C, could be aggressive and honest. And given the fact that what is mentioned here is differs, so if you're looking at this particular case here, firm A, firm D combination, aggressive and honest, since it says differs, A can be aggressive, D can be honest, or A can be honest and D can be aggressive, and that goes with the same thing in B and C. Now if you look at it, so if you can consider this case number 2 of B and C, so here we already have a C here. So you already see I have a C here. Here no C has no place. So this for B and C cannot be filled here. The B and C has to be applicable in this case. So that goes with the first case also. In the first case you see that there is firm A and firm D. So we already have a A there. So therefore the first case here, A and D case, is not applicable here. A and D case has to be applicable here. So it's not very difficult in that sense. So all we have to do is that, okay, fine. So we have couple of more cases that needs to be filled, and the story is done. So let's look at where A is already there, which means this case is no longer valid because you already have A there. We are looking at B and C combination. So B and C combination would be either BC, or we can either have CB if we have A there. Okay, and the same case if you look at the C combination, there'll be 2 cases. If you look at C combination, this case number 2 will not be valid because you already have a C there. So we are looking at AD combination, so it can be either AD or we have DA. So that creates my case number 3 and case number 4, and then who is missing, which will be filled here. So B, C, A. So D is here, and we have B there, and we have the D there, and we have B there, right? So since both this table is going to be useful, okay, so let's use both this table and then go ahead and answer those questions. So let's start with question number 1. So what does the question number 1 say? What can be said regarding the following two statements? So we are given statement number 1 and statement number 2. One of the way to execute this question is eventually we are actually checking the truth and falsity of this statement, right? So what happens is statement 1 is true, is the statement 2 true? If statement 1 is true, is statement 2 false? Are both true? Are both false? So one easy way to actually interpret this question and solve this is, let's look at these two statements, and all that I'm checking is whether for each of this case this statement is true or false. So for example, if I take the first case of statement number 1, I'm going to check whether it is true or false here, whether in this case whether it is true or false, in this case whether it is true or false, in this case whether it's true or false. And the same with the case of statement number 2, and then go and check each of these answer choice. That's what I'm going to do. Okay, so let's look at what this says. This says Profitable Limited has a lowest market share in MP market. So MP market, who has got the lowest share? The person with the lowest share in MP market is firm B. So B, in this case, the profitable will be B. So profitable will be B. So for these two cases, this statement number 1 is true, and for these two cases the statement number 1 is false. So all I'm going to now write is to write that there. So it's going to be true. So if we are looking at B, right, so it's going to be true for these two statements, and it's going to be false for those statement is going to be false, sorry, for those two cases. Case number 1 and case number 3, the statement 1 is false, and case number 2 and case number 4, the statement number 1 is true. In the similar fashion, let's check what is with the statement number 2. So that's what we'll do. Honest Limited, Limited's total revenue is more than Profitable Limited. Honest, profitable. So we are checking whether B is greater than D, or A is greater than B, or C is greater than D, or D is greater than B. That can be quickly checked. Okay, so B has to be greater than D, so because honest has to be greater than profitable. Let's check this case. Is B greater than D? So B is 217, D is 185. That is a statement which is true, so we can say that that statement is true. Let's go ahead and check for the next one. Is A greater than B? A in this case is 190, and we are checking for B, right? So B in this case is 217. That is false. A 190 is not greater than 217, so this particular statement is going to be false. And then look at the third statement. Is C greater than D? So we have C to be 222, that anyway is the highest. So D is 185, that's the lowest. So C is definitely greater than D. So that statement, ladies and gentlemen, is true. And let's look at the last case. D is D greater than B. So D we have 185, and B we have 217. D is not greater than B. So for that particular case, that statement is going to be false. Right. So we have got these cases. If one is true, other has to be false, or one is false, other has to be true. Let's look at each of the statement. If statement 1 is true, so we are checking at these two cases what is applicable, case 2 and case 4. Statement 2 is necessarily true. No, statement 2 is false. So first one goes for a toss. The second one, if statement 1 is true, the statement 2 is necessarily false. That is what it is the case. If statement 1 is true, the statement 2 has to be false, and that is my right answer choice. And other two is anyway wrong. Both statement 1 and 2 are true. That is never the case. We have a false true, true false, false true, and true false. We don't have a case of false false. Neither statement 1 nor statement 1 is true, so we don't have a case of false false. We don't have a case of true true. So these two anyway goes for a toss. The answer to this question is 2. Move on to the next question. Same story. So we have two statements. So I will have statement number 1 and statement number 2. Create this there. In the actual examination, you can write statement 1, statement 2, case 1, case 2, case 3, case 4, and just write true false, okay. Because every time you'll have to erase it, so obviously you cannot erase in the actual exam because you are using pen. So anyways, so let's start with statement number 1. Aggressive limited lowest revenue are from MP. Aggressive is CDBA. Aggressive, all of them actually could be aggressive. Okay. Lowest revenue is from MP. So whose lowest revenue is from MP? A's lowest revenue is not MP. B's lowest revenue is MP because 63 is lowest there. C's lowest revenue is actually Bihar, and D's lowest revenue is actually UP. The only thing, it is only true for statement number 3, that is B. Okay, it's only true for B. The rest all the cases, case 1, that statement is false. Okay, let's look at the statement number 2. Let's look at the statement number 2, which says, Honest Limited lowest revenue are from Bihar. Honest is all of them, B, A, C, D, anyone could be honest. Okay. A's lowest is UP, B's lowest is MP, we already found out. C's lowest is Bihar. Okay, so C's lowest is Bihar, and D's lowest is UP. That doesn't make sense. Only C is true, rest everything is false. So C is true, everything else is false. So you have that to be true, rest all the statement is actually false. Let's, for all the other cases, the statement is false. Whenever it's false, it's false. It's true. So which means if statement 2 is true, then statement 1 is necessarily false. If statement 2 is true, statement 1 is also true. So that goes for a toss. If statement 1 is false, statement 2 is true. If statement 1 is false, statement 2 is false in all the 3 cases. That also goes for a toss. And then you have the third statement. Statement 1 is true, statement 2 is necessarily true. If 1 is true, that is just the case number 3. Statement 2 has to be true. So we have, ladies and gentlemen, answer to this question as 3. Let's look at question number 3. It says, so we anyway need those 2 statements. We are looking at whether those statement is true or false, nothing else. It's a simple story. Let's start with statement number 1. Honest Limited has the highest share in UP market. In UP market, who has got highest share? The highest share, ladies and gentlemen, is with firm B. We are looking at Honest. Where is B? So B is there. Great. So in this case, this statement is true. Rest everything else would be false. Okay. Aggressive Limited has highest share in the Bihar market. Who has got the highest share in the Bihar market? The person with the highest share in the Bihar market is again B. So in this case, so this we are talking about aggressive. So the B is there. So that statement is true, and rest everything is false. Right. Both the statement could be true. No way. True, false, 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 true, false, false. Both the statement cannot be true. At least one statement must be true. At least one statement must be true. Not necessary. Both statements are false. So how can you say that at least one statement must be true? At most one of the statement is true. Yeah, at most one can be true. For example, in this case, 1 is true, none is true, 1 is true. At most is what? At most 1 is either 0 or 1. So in this case, there is 0 truth, there is 0 truth, there is 1 truth and 1 truth. So that is perfect, and we have answered this question as option 3. And we have the next question. If profitable's lowest revenue is from UP, profitable is D or B. Okay, so we have a D, B, D. Profitable lowest revenue is from UP. His lowest revenue is from MP. His lowest revenue is from UP. So we are looking at a case where it is D. So these 2 cases, and we are interested in truthful. Luckily, in both the cases, truthful is A. Okay, in both the cases, truthful is A. So we are interested in what is happening for firm A. Lowest revenue is what we are checking. The firm's lowest revenue has come from UP, which is 49. So that's answer choice number 3. Right. So in this particular question, if you actually think of the step, reading, understanding, deducing, executing, reading takes pretty less time. I think that you'll end up doing in about a minute or so. Try to read. Understanding the one is where you try and figure out what is the kind of diagram that you want to go with. So that may not take that. So this may take a bit of time. So reading and understanding, I think that about a couple of minutes you can actually do this. And the deduction here, once the simple addition that you'll have to do and writing those the cases, that won't take more than 2 minutes. I think maybe about 3 minutes there. So in about 5 minutes this step can be done. Is probably execute once you have those diagram with you. Executing those 4 questions is not that difficult. So it's about getting the question 1. If you get the process, whatever is the process that you use, you are using the same process in question number 2 and question number 3, right? So if at all, you will take little time in question number 1, but you once you get a crux of how to deal with it, question number 2 and 3 will go pretty fast, and question number 4 will also, question number 4 is actually straightforward. So you could actually solve all these 4 questions, I believe, in roughly about 5 minutes in total. So 8, 9, 10 minutes again. So this set probably could have been done in about 10 minutes or so, maybe even less than 10 minutes. So yeah, so thank you, and I'll see you with more videos. Till then, bye.